I was thinking about all these horror games out there, and I noticed that most of them basically follow the same formula. You start in a random dark place, you find a monster, you stealth your way out of the dark place by finding keys or something like that, while avoiding the monster, and then for the ending, you either escape or get caught and die. And so while looking at this, a question came to my mind. Why did no game make the ending so that instead of running away like a moron, you find a gun or something like that, then you go back to the monster and shoot it down? Or better yet, you just beat it up. Then I thought, hey, I should make something like that. But instead of finding a gun at the end, you become a monster yourself, and then you, the bigger monster, hunt the smaller monster down. That sounds fun, doesn't it? Well, time to get to work. To start out, I modeled some buildings in Blender. Usually when I build things, I just make some parts and stretch them all the way in order to make walls and floors, which is a terrible way of doing it. But a while ago, I found out that Godot has this thing called a tile map, which you can use to make the map using small building blocks like this. And so I dropped my models in and started mapping. But wait, I have no idea what the map layout should look like. In this situation, only a fool will do something like coming up with a map layout from scratch in MS Paint. Instead, I came up with a better idea. Minesweeper. If you don't know what that is, literally how. When you boot up the game, you're presented with a flat empty land, and when you click it, you're given a starting area to work with. Yeah, that's gonna be the map. And would you look at that, a nice map layout to work with, completely original too. But we need more than just a layout, so here's some walls, and a door, a non-working one, gotta fix that. Now we have a door that opens and closes, a fine show of technological advancement. Totally didn't copy it from Resident Evil 4. I went ahead and placed more walls, and built this big open area for the first monster encounter. Then I made it into different sections, and now it's time to put a monster in there. So first I had to model the monster. I tried to make it look as unusual as possible. I also decided that this monster is gonna be entity style, basically like this. So I'll be calling it the entity from now on. Now, the next section of this video is gonna be about the biggest waste of time I've done this year. You see, for this stage of the game, I wanted the entity to just wander around the arena and then chase you when it sees you. And to make it wander around, I needed a pathfinding system. So when I tell the entity to go somewhere, it doesn't just go through the walls to arrive there. Here's the problem, I'm stupid. No way in hell am I gonna figure out how to make something like a pathfinding system, so I opted in for a simpler idea. I'll make a path out of points around the map for the entity to follow, with different paths branching out of this main path. So when the entity wants to go from one point to the other, it simply goes back to the root of the path it's in until it finds a shared path between where it's at and where its destination is. Then it travels to its destination using the same logic, but reversed. If you didn't understand what I just said, don't worry, because apparently neither did I. I spent like 6 hours trying to make this. It was so bad that I literally rage quit in the middle of it, then came back the next day to suffer more. And it's not even a complicated system to make. I don't know why it took that long. Maybe because I wrote the code in the most horrifying way possible. Who knows? So after I finally finished making this, the entity can now wander around and chase the player. Except, it can't. Sure, it can wander around, following the static points I placed for it around the map, but it can't chase the player. Because guess what? The player isn't static. This bastard moves around. Who would have known? And it doesn't matter anyways, because as it turns out, Godot already has a pathfinding system. I was one Google search away from saving hours of time. Nice. Let's just forget about this. Anyways, I went back to Blender to continue modeling the entity because apparently I didn't finish it last time. I don't know, I'm writing the script after recording all the footage, so I don't remember doing this. When I finished the model, for sure this time, I started making the skeleton for it, which is what allows me to animate the entity. After that, I moved to weight painting, which is basically telling each bone of the skeleton which parts of the body it controls. And then I went ahead and started animating. One mistake I kept doing is confusing the front of the entity with its back. Here you can see me animating the entity to walk in this direction, but it's actually supposed to walk to the opposite direction. And what keeps confusing me to do stuff like this is the knees, which I made to face the opposite way of a typical human leg. Later on I fixed this though, as you can see here. Along with the walking animation, I made an idle animation too. Now it was time to give the entity a face. First I tried to just give it a pair of eyes, like the thumbnail of that one video I made, but those didn't look good, so I tried making bigger eyes. It was scarier, but not enough. And then I remembered something. There's this game on the PS2 called Forbidden Siren 2, and in the game there was a certain monster that looked way more terrifying than the other. It was this oversized head on a small body, and that thing was horrifying. And so I decided to make something like this. And to do that I needed a human face, but I didn't want to use a real person's face cause that seemed very disrespectful. So instead I used a website that I found a few years ago that generates fake people. The first time I rolled, it gave me a child for some reason, even though the age setting was 19 to 25. So I rolled again, and this time I got this, which I didn't think would work for the game. And then I rolled again, and this time I got this. But if you zoom out a little bit, yeah, this looks horrifying. Forget the face, I had to somehow use this. This brings back memories of AI that should have stayed forgotten. And so I copied it, dropped it into GIMP, and started tweaking stuff. It went from this to this. Then it started to look like the profile picture of a Minecraft hacker from like 2016. And then it finally started to look terrifying. And in the end, this is what I ended up with. This gotta scare at least one person off. And so I brought my artistic piece back into Blender. And well, it ain't look right. What the hell? This is good enough. And now to test this. I made the place dark and gave myself a tiny light for the typical horror experience. And after struggling to find my creation for a while, I saw it. Right there. Man, he's fast. I tried again after making some changes. And there he is. Except he's moonwalking for some reason. And I put the face in the wrong direction because of these damn legs. And there we go. This took way longer than it should have. With the entities model done, it was time to fill up the map. At first I wanted to Sketchfab to get some models, but these were way too high quality for this. So I decided to make some myself. Then I opened MS Paint to plan out the different areas. For now I chose to only fill up the office area. But while doing so, I stopped to look around for a bit. Doesn't something seem off when you look at these models? That's because the shadows are missing. Except they're not missing. You just don't see them since the light is being cast from the camera. And so after seeing this, I realized that it's about time I make a proper flashlight. First I made the model, then I did some scripting that I forgot to record. And here's the flashlight. The shadows show up now, but they look flat. This feels like a 2D picture next to the objects. I did some tweaks to try and fix this later on, but it still didn't look as good as I hoped. Moving on, this is the moment I used Godot's navigation system that I talked about earlier. And as you can see, the entity can now chase me down. In order to save time, I decided to fill up the area with white boxes and make the models another time. And then I added this keycard reader next to the door. I think it's about time I explain how you're supposed to progress through this stage of the game. Throughout the map, there will be different doors requiring different access card levels. In order to progress, you're gonna have to go through the lowest access level door, find a higher access level card, which you can use to unlock the next door and do the same thing. At the first stage of the game, there will be 8 computers. One is gonna have a higher level access card, while the rest are gonna have lower level ones. In order to get the higher level card, you have to unplug every card from every other computer. Only then will the higher level card be unpluggable. And then you'll take it to unlock the door to the next stage. I already made the card model, so I went ahead and started making the texture. And then GIMP crashed. And I lost my texture. And so I tried again, making it look better this time. And then it crashed again. Okay, so apparently when I add a text and give it an outline, it's fine. But when I try to change the color of that outline, GIMP just collapses. I can use these though for some reason. Hopefully no one will notice that. And here are the PCs. Wish I forgot to record footage of me modeling them. Here's the main PC with the higher level card. Currently all of them have admin level cards cause I'm too lazy to make other textures. But the functionality is there. Now it might not look like it, but I'm 1 month deep into making this video. It's about time it haven't ended. But the whole point of the game is that you're supposed to be able to beat up the monsters, so I should at least make some progress into that. At the end of the game, when you become a monster yourself, one of the mechanics I wanna add is the ability to break doors, because you'll be too big to go through them. So I hopped into Blender and started modeling an arm. When I was making this, my intent was to make something look like the arm of that one monster from Silent Hill 3 or the one from Silent Hill 5, and I thought I was doing pretty good until I switched to side view to start making the skeleton for it. And at that point, I paused to look at the arm for a bit longer, and then I realized this does not look like an arm. So quickly I made a few modifications before YouTube bans me. Then I finished making the skeleton, then some animations. Then I went into Godot to make the breakable door, and here's the result. Does it look bad? Yes. Do I care? Yes. But I'll leave fixing this to another time. And that's about it. Thanks for watching.